Does your child have trouble with homework and the solutions you've been given just makes your child more frustrated? And maybe that frustrates you? It's not your fault. Most of these solutions are just more academics. And when something isn't working, adding more of the same rarely helps. We'll cover how you can do something different later in this video. In the meantime, let's go over some simple strategies you can use to help. Hi, I'm Liz Weaver of Learning Success, and I put this video series together to help parents of struggling learners, so we can help parents like you. In this video, we're going to cover homework strategies you can use to make homework go much smoother. If this video helps you, please make sure to subscribe and share it so it gets out to more parents just like you. Let's watch.
It's a good idea to get out ahead of homework at the beginning of the year. So at back to school night, talk to your child's teacher about the length of time that homework should take. They've been doing this a long time. They know what the assignments are. That is a good rule of thumb for you to gauge how your child is doing at home. And so if you notice that your child is consistently taking much longer than what the teacher said, then it would be a good idea to let the teacher know, because any conscientious teacher would like to know how the children are doing at home with the homework assignments. If they're taking a long time, it may mean that the concepts need to be reviewed, or perhaps the teacher needs to change their approach to teaching those concepts. And if there's more than one child having this difficulty, then that certainly might be a course of action that the teacher could take. Now, if your child seems to be the only one that's having a problem, that's good to know as well, because perhaps your child needs some additional help at school or at home, and that's useful information for the teacher and you too.
You gotta somehow change it up or keep it fun. They've been sitting at a desk all day long listening to someone lecture. So to sit at a table for an hour or 2 hours and do homework is not gonna help, especially for the student that's kind of checked out of school for the day. So it's important to do some fun things with them. Something as simple as getting a small whiteboard. You can buy them on Amazon, they have them at the dollar store, and letting them work out their math problems on the whiteboard. You know, believe it or not, something like highlighters and markers and whiteboards are just fun for students. So I'll allow students to work on whiteboards with math, reading, science. If they have a test coming up, they can study the vocab words on there. And that's just something different than sitting at a desk with pencil and paper. And another way just to kind of change it up is just change the scenery. There's nothing worse than sitting at a desk all day and then sitting at a table all afternoon doing homework. So maybe take them outside, put out a blanket in the yard, go to a park, put out a blanket, let them lay out and do their homework. Get a clipboard, that way you can do your homework anywhere as long as you have something, a hard surface to write on. Do it at a picnic table, go to the beach, go by your pool, something different. A lot of students are required to read for homework. Again, making them sit there and read at the dining room table isn't always going to be the best option for them, especially those students that are struggling. So being able to change up the scenery, it's something simple that can make a huge difference with homework.
Use the first then strategy. So the first thing we're going to do is typically something we don't want to do. So it could be spelling, it could be math, it could be homework just as a general concept. And then the thing that we're going to follow that with is a preferred item. So it always helps to sit with your kids and talk about, okay, what is it that you'd rather be doing instead of homework right now? They're probably going to tell you Lego, arts and crafts, hanging out with their friends, watching movies. So create that list and then use that to your benefit. So let them know that first they're going to have to do their homework and then they can pick anything on that item. This really helps motivate kids, and it honestly has us face less resistance because they're thinking about what they're going to get once it's done.
And it may be that a full page of a homework assignment is a bit much for your child, so you can even chunk it and break it down into smaller, achievable components, such as first, write your name, then you can go play outside, or first, complete 5 questions, etc.
making time a part of anything makes it into a game. This is another thing I use in all my curriculum that I write. I make time a part of everything, and you can make everything into a game with time. As a parent, we know this. If you need your living room cleaned and under 10 minutes, you tell your kids whoever can pick up the most is the winner, and your kids zip around picking up as much as they can. So time can make everything into a game, and you can do the same thing with homework. If they have a problem, you can say, okay, I'm gonna see if you can get this problem done in 5 minutes. I'm gonna set the timer and have some sort of timer, your kitchen timer, or a tick, 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 tick timer, whatever you've got, and make it into a game. Maybe there's 10 math problems and you say, okay, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to do each one. Ready, go, and make it into a game. Anything with time can make it fun.
Another great idea is for your child to use a planner. Especially younger children, I really recommend that they use a hard copy planner. And there's so many planners on the market that really suit all of our children's tendencies, whether they like bright colors, whether they like large spaces. Please just do a search on Google. You will find something that fits your needs, or you can certainly visit the local office supply store and they will have a lot of options as well. But the beauty of a planner is that it helps your child to lay out what they have to do. And because all homework is not due on the same day, and sometimes you have some projects that may be due in a couple of weeks, it really helps them to organize their time. It also gives them a place to see their progress as they tackle the assignments and get them done. That can also help them feel a lot better about doing their assignments. And that too is a good skill for down the road, particularly in high school and college, where they can really lay out what they have to do and plan.
Homework strategies can be very useful in helping your child get past a homework struggle. Every little bit helps, right? At the root cause, homework struggles are caused by a learning blockage. That blockage can be caused by any of the cognitive micro skills. There are a dozen of them, and the learning success system covers each one of them, strengthening them together to help your child become a skillful learner. Removing those blockages. Skillful learners enjoy and excel at learning. Your child can too. Just click the link above to get your free trial.
Establish a pre-homework checklist, and this is for students of all ages. I'm going to go through my key tips for establishing a homework checklist. It's like a pre-flight checklist that pilots use every time they get into that airplane before they take off. This is your pre-homework checklist. So number one question, why did the teacher give me this assignment? You have to understand what the purpose is. Oftentimes it's reinforcing what was taught during the school day. Oftentimes it's to introduce new material. This is something that can happen in math, for example, where they want to pre-teach or want you to pre-learn. What specific skills or concepts am I to learn from this homework? Is it to learn how to set up equations correctly? Is it to learn facts? Is it to memorize facts? Is it to memorize information in total? Is it compare and contrast information? So understanding the specific skills or concepts that you are supposed to gain from this homework and to prove from this homework.
You know, the thing about homework is you don't want to make it something that the students don't look forward to. You don't want to make it where, you know, they're going to have to do it all on their own. I get it, students need to do things on their own, but at the same time, we need to make sure we're a part of that. We're checking on them, we're changing things up, we're making it fun, we're playing games, we're sitting with them on some, maybe even with the whiteboard. What's great is you could do a problem with them, then they could do one on their own. But it's gotta be something that it's not just do your homework, sit there, because they're just gonna shut down. So we gotta make sure we're on top of it and we do have a plan. And then, you know, with reading, I know a lot of students have to do reading. And I always say it's important for your students to hear you read, to read with you, and to read on their own. And so, again, that can be a way of differentiating that reading time, is maybe sometimes part of that, maybe a in a day they have to read 20 minutes. Maybe 5 of those minutes are you reading to them. And then 10 of those minutes are you guys taking turns reading together. And the last 5 is them reading to you. And maybe some days it's completely on their own and some days completely you. You can change it up. But that's a way to break up reading.
Gamification, there are a couple of different ways. What we like to do is when kids finish certain homework assignments, depending on the homework assignment, we assign certain points, a point value. So, maybe an everyday homework piece might be 1 or 2 points, whereas a larger project could be 10. And the amount of points we award vary depending on, one, how much effort was put in. This also gets the kid on board to make sure that they're properly motivated, and it gets them to negotiate a little bit. Obviously this isn't some big M&A negotiation process, but it does get them to talk through their thought process, and for us to say, okay, well, maybe, going to Disneyland at 5 points isn't, probably a great deal for us because it's too easy, but maybe a trip to the ice cream store, for example.
I've done things with my own kids where we've done little games where if they have to read for 30 minutes, I'll make a little chart and I'll say read on the couch for 5, read out by the pool for 5 minutes, read on top of your bunk bed for 5 minutes, read by a tree for 5 minutes. And that way it turns into a little game of different places they have to read, and before they know it, they're getting that 30 minutes done. But because I'm making it into a game with different scenery and different places for them to read, it makes all the difference in the world. And it's also important for them to learn how to complete the homework on their own and also study. When you move into the middle school levels for students, then you have students that are not only doing homework, but they're now studying. They have multiple classes, multiple subjects they have to prepare for. And so another big thing that I try to teach my kids is study skills. I go back to simple index cards. We do index cards all the time. If they have any type of test that involves definitions or vocabs or facts, we make index cards. They put the word on the front and the definition on the back. If it's a fact, we'll put the topic of the fact on the front and then the actual fact on the back. The great thing about index cards is there's a kind of 2 or 3 parts to this. Number 1, they're studying as they make the flashcards because they're having to read it off their study guide and then write it on the index card. So they're already starting to study. Their brain's already starting to see it and learn it. The second thing is with index cards, you can study on your own. No one really has to be with you or quiz you because you can literally look at the word, turn it over and see if you got it right. But you can say it to yourself before you turn it over and then check your answer. So it's a great independent study tool. I love flashcards. I think they're one of the best ways to study, and students can use this forever in life. I use it from my 2nd grader all the way to my 8th grader. Another way of studying is teaching yourself. So when my kids are really struggling, I'll get a whiteboard or I'll even tape up paper on just a wall and I make them teach me. Because the number 1 way that anyone learns is by teaching others. If you can teach others, then you know it. So just writing it out, talking through it, teaching it to someone else will help you learn it. So again, I make a game out of it. I tell them, teach me. Or teach your brother, or if they're young, teach your stuffed animals, or just talk to nobody and teach. My 8th grader didn't want to teach his stuffed animals, and he had already taught me, so I just said, talk to the air. And he went through it over and over again and was able to teach it. And so that's another way to make studying fun.
I hope that has you thinking about all of the different strategies you can use. Tell us in the comments which ones you plan on using. Homework strategies are super helpful, and you should definitely use whichever one works for you. It's also important to get to the bottom of what's causing your child's learning struggle. You can do that by using the Learning Success System. It's a step-by-step system for removing all of the learning blockages that are getting in your child's way. Get started on a free trial by clicking the link in the description. You'll get your first lesson today, and I'll see you in our private members area.
Thank you.